Welcome to Fourth Line Hockey Show. I'm your host, Willie Plouffe. I'm here with my winner again, Gerald Hasvig. We're at Royal Sports Shop having some fun. Gerald, what's up today, buddy?
Not much. Well, as we're taping this show, we're excited. NHL is back in town. It's going to be good.
How good is that? You know what? We waited for a long time. I know our show airs a little bit after the date, but I tell you, everybody, the Jets are going to be rock and rolling. NHL's flying. Seats are going. Popcorn's going. Some beverages flowing. It's going to be good.
Yeah. You know, I just know from my level, talking to my staff, we're all hockey players here. You know, guys are excited. They want to go and see hockey highlights, at night when they come home, and they want to see what new gear the guys are using. So, I think the interest level is spiked. Hockey is Canada, Canada is hockey, so we're back on.
For me, Saturday night, hockey night in Canada is one of the best things going on, and also watching, the Jets Shaw Channel TV. It's been such good times, and with the boys having popcorn and having Coke and that, and having some good times, Coca-Cola, of course. Having some good times with the kids, enjoying things. It's been awesome.
You don't like Pepsi, just
Coke?
Yeah,
Coke and Pepsi. Yeah, we very any kind of soda pop. Even we'll throw in some apple juice and some milk sometimes. Today we have a great show. We're gonna have our guest coming in today. He's an ex Western Hockey League player. He had tried with the pros. He played U of M. He's a tough cookie. Now he's an investor for the players in the NHL, upcoming players, not just the NHL, all kinds of people who are looking to invest money for afterwards. And Brian Coughlin is going to come in here and talk a little bit, and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to talk hockey with him. He's a hockey guy.
Well, he'll give an interesting perspective on, players' lives, maybe not when they're on the ice, and all the things that they have to do. And, we'll talk a little bit about development coming right from, when you're a minor hockey player through into the pros and everything that entails it, and and that'll be super interesting, big time.
It's always when guys, what's their career like? It's going well, and things are going, and some guys get hurt, and you hear about some sad stories where some guys end up, they play 10 years, 15 years in the pros, they come up with no money,
yeah.
And at the end of the year, end of the career, they're sitting there, and they're stuck. They're looking for other things, and having a guy like that on the show today is gonna, open up some eyes, tell some great stories, probably some tough stories. Who knows, but it's going to be good guys for everybody, not just hockey players, for anybody who needs to invest money and think about the retirement. We all need to retire one day.
Imagine if you had met Brian earlier on in your hockey career. Where would you be now, eh? We'd be introing you.
So true, Gerald. It's been like, what's happened to my career? Beer league hockey now, skating with you, it's all good. Hey, you don't look bad on D now. You're working pretty hard.
Yeah, well, you get older, it's easier to play back there. But yeah, no, it'll be an interesting perspective, and I think it's a viewpoint that not a lot of people think about. But you got a kid who maybe has an opportunity to make something of hockey, and this will lend itself well to that. Whether you're life planning, future planning, all that sort of stuff.
Royal Sports Shop. We're hanging at Royal Sports Shop, Fourth Line Show. We're going to break for commercial, and then we're going to bring back Brian Coughlin from the good old Cardinal Capital Management Group, and be right back right at you.
I touched the ball before it went out, Coach.
Come on, Alex. The ref did not call that. It's the championship game.
I touched it. It's their ball.
Don't foul them when they inbound. Alex. Good call.
Sportsmanship. Pass it on.
Welcome back to Fourth Line Hockey Show. I'm your host, Willie Plouffe. I'm with my winger, Gerald Hasvig. Gerald, back at it. What a great commercial break. Here we go, buddy.
Here we go.
I want to bring in Brian Coughlin. Old Cogs has been around for a while. Great hockey player. Tough guy. Come on in, Cogs. Welcome to Fourth Line Hockey Show.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Cogs, we've been talking a little bit before we went to commercial break of what you do and all the things, your little bit of hockey career and all that. Can you tell us a little bit about Brian Coughlin, where Cogs played hockey at? And I'm going to call you Cogs because you know what? I played hockey against you and with you, so I got to call you Cogs.
I grew up in St. James and played in the St. James minor hockey system, and played there till I was 16. And then from there I went to the SJHL, And after the SJHL, I played 2 years in the Western League, 1 year for Spokane, and then 1 year for Medicine Hat. And then after that, I had a tryout with Hartford Whalers, and got sent to the minors and ended up leaving after camp and so on. But then I basically retired for a year or two, and then I came back and played for Wayne Fleming at University of Manitoba, which was a great experience because Wayne's was great guy, great coach, and learned a lot through Wayne about hockey and life. He was great.
That is awesome. Now, Cogsy, how was it playing in the Dub? Like, there's a lot of good players that leave Manitoba, go playing in the Dub, and you're a part of that. So how was that?
It was different times than now. I think nowadays you're a little bit more fortunate to play where it's a little bit more focused on the skill and the talent in the game. I think when I played, half the team was brawlers, and so it's a little bit different than what they face now, so they get to focus on the hockey a bit more. Don Cherry might not be happy about hearing that, but I think they're pretty fortunate now.
Jerry, what do you think about that? Western Hockey is pretty tough. Cogs got a pretty good resume on playing hockey.
Well, he experienced both, the best of both worlds. Played the college hockey, then also played in the Western Hockey League. So, what did you find different about playing for a university and playing in the Western Hockey League? 'Cause some kids have that dilemma whether they're going to go one way or the other.
It's a tough call on which way they should go. I think each situation is unique, and I think they have to go with what they feel. I know when I played, I did enjoy university hockey because when hockey's not going well, you have school, and on the other hand, when it's vice versa on that. So you do have that, and I think but both are good spots for grooming hockey players, and it builds good citizens too.
I know off air, Cogs, we talked a little bit about, and you like to throw them too a little bit. And Missing Link kind of tuned me in pretty good, but you had some good dealings. You were with Stu Grimson there for a little bit, weren't you?
Well, that's an old hockey story that people like to throw out. I had a fight with Stu's right-hand man, and that was Bobby Lowe's, who became the head coach of the Brandon Wheat Kings for about 10 years. And I had a fight with Bobby, and Stu wasn't really happy that I went after Bobby. So next shift I had to take on Stu, and I'll let you guess who won that fight.
Yeah, there's always someone bigger and stronger. But Cogs, how do you feel? Like, we're just talking a little bit about the Jets coming back and the NHL going. Well, not the Jets coming back, but the NHL getting going again. And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we're really fortunate to have the Jets back. I mean, when I was building my business, I was mainly on the road on my own, going out there to build a wealth management business for NHL players. And so we're very fortunate to have the team back. It's much easier on my business as well. And we're very fortunate to have Mark Chipman in this city. I grew up with Mark, and he's a phenomenal person. And we're very fortunate to have him running the team and being in charge of the team. And from what I've seen, I think they've got a good structure in place. And I think Winnipeg is going to be very fortunate with this team.
What do you think about that, Jerry? We're talking we talked a little bit earlier about the NHL coming back to the city, and things happening here, and Cogs being involved in with the player stuff. We're going to a little bit next time when we go after commercial break. We'll talk more about what Cogs does that way. But having the NHL back is rocking, right?
Well, I think as a community, obviously everybody knows the value of it, and the scenario we waited 15 years. We could wait the extra 3-4 months, but it's an excitement level that the whole community, from the young child right to the grandparents, everybody has it. And, like Brian said, makes his business a lot easier, makes my business a lot easier when the games are on. It makes a big difference in the community. So
I think that's very important. I'm talking a little bit about how your business, and anyone who's involved in the NHL world, and even the restaurants downtown, everyone who's involved, it's been pretty tough, right? Not having the people downtown, not, the restaurants, the bars, the happening downtown, but now it's going to be rocking. I'm so excited to get the NHL going again, and just like excited about having Cogs here. We're going to talk about different things when about NHL guys when they have to make plans for after their career. It's awesome, Cogs, and I can't wait to get into that right after commercial break. It's going to be pretty good.
You bet. I look forward to it, and I said in the paper one day, Winnipeg's back in the promised land, and I felt that way when we heard the Jets were coming back. So it's great for the city, and it's great for it's just it just brings another level to the city.
For sure.
Tell us a little bit about your mindset. You know, you're playing hockey, you're in the pros. You know, you have to make the decision sometime to come back and get an education and, you know, continue on your life. You know, at what point did you think, you know, my hockey career is super important to me, obviously, and I think we all want to be hockey players, but you had to make that choice. When did that come, and how did you come to that realization?
Well, with hockey, I don't know if I had the best mind for hockey. I was kind of like the Soviet Union. I always thought in 5 and 10 year blocks, and I think I didn't concentrate enough on the game of that day. But I think I got to a point, it was kind of NHL or nothing for me, and I probably was a little bit too focused on that. And so as a result, I came back, and it took a while to. The one difficult thing about being a hockey player, it's very difficult to reprogram yourself, and that's what I think with a lot of old pros and a lot of old players, they find it. That's the most challenging thing, is to figure out what they're going to do after hockey. So it took a while, and as I went along in my education and then in my financial education, I knew I wanted to be involved in hockey. But I never really wanted to be involved on a day-to-day, you know, as an agent or as a coach or things like that. So I found the financial business, and I married the two together: my passion for hockey and my passion for finance.
Yeah, we know that, you know, hockey, much like a lot of other sports, the relationships gained throughout the years of playing hockey, whether it's beer league like I play now. You know, Willie played in the Cash League back in the 1940s or whenever it was. You know,
That's
those
right.
relationships are
back
strong.
in the day,
so.
yeah. Back in the day, you know, and that's where our kids play hockey, or all sports, right? To build relationships, to go further on in life than making it to the bigs. And that's, you know, that's one of the most important things in, you know, any kind of sport, and hockey. We all love hockey. But before we go to the break, I just want to, Cogs, can you just tell everybody what your title is and the company you work for and who you are in that part of it? Because when we come back, we'll get right into it.
Yeah, I work for Cardinal Capital Management. It's a local firm here in Winnipeg. We do have advisors across the country that deal with Cardinal. We're also are able to do business. We're licensed down in the U.S. and that's one of the big things. We are able to do business in the States. And it's myself. I have a full-time assistant, Leah, and I have another old hockey player who works with me. His name's Greg Phillips, and Greg has come over to me, and he played 4 years in the Western League and was drafted by the LA Kings and played 4 years in the minors for LA, and now he's full-time with me. So we're really focusing in on the hockey business and the finance business, and he has a financial background, so again, he's excited about working with me in the hockey area.
When we return, we're going to pick Cogs a little bit more about his career, and most important, what's going on for future players to, you know what, invest their money properly. I wish I had some of that cake. Be right back at you.
You don't need a media monkey to make healthy choices. Think for yourself. A message from Concerned Children's Advertisers.
Welcome back to Fourth Line Hockey Show. You know, before we went on break there, we were talking a little bit about, you know, what Cogs does and, you know, who he works for. Now we're going to let Cogs himself take it over. We're going to ask some questions, and he's going to explain to everybody what he does, because I know he deals with some really good players, and this is very important for people, you know, to invest money. No matter if you're a hockey player or wherever you come in your career, it's all solid. Go ahead, Cogs, and give him a little bit.
Well, in my business, I look after about 50 NHL players, about 20 retired, about 30 playing in the league. And really, you know, the main thing is when they're starting off and getting close to the NHL, they've been drafted and they're working towards the NHL. Oftentimes I say the last thing they should worry about is their finances. It's a spectrum. They start off their career and they're not thinking so much about their finances. I say focus on the money machine, which is the NHL, and try to make the NHL first. And then once they make the NHL, then they can start focusing in on their investments and so on. And it builds up over time. And what happens over time is kind of middle of their career, they start taking more notice. And by the end of their career, you become one of the more important people in their lives, because they have to realize what's going to happen after their career and what's their cash flow going to be like after their career. In regards to investing with the players, I mean, the biggest mistakes most professional athletes make, and I have been interviewed to deal with basketball and football as well. I haven't done that though, but I have been interviewed, and what I've seen out there is usually they get into too many private equity deals where or too many properties they buy, and they build up their they build up too much on that side, and they don't keep things where it's, I always look at it, make sure you have control of your money and make sure your money's highly liquid. So at Cardinal Capital, we're a large cap dividend manager, so we only buy large public companies and at the same time companies that pay you income for holding those companies. And so as a result, if a player can build up lots of, quite a bit of money, a lot of times they can even live off their dividends that those companies are paying them on a regular basis. As I say to the players, you're not going to go broke owning McDonald's or IBM and so on, but you could go broke owning, Joe's Bakery or something like that, something like that.
Jimmy's Tire Shop.
Yeah.
Could be tough.
Cogs, you got a unique job where you deal with all these professional athletes. Now, a lot of us, myself included, we don't have any dealings like that. And you hear some crazy stories. You brought up the NBA and NFL. You hear some stats that, 80% have lost 90% of their fortune that they've amassed. What's the mindset of dealing with these guys? How approachable are they? How easy are they to deal with?
In regards to the hockey players, to tell you the truth, are probably, I believe, and from bankers and so on that I've dealt with over my career, I believe they're the easiest to deal with. I mean, I know a lot of hockey players, what do they want? They want a truck, a cabin, and a house. So it might be a little bit different from what an NBA player wants. So from that point of view, it's fairly easy. They're trusting people. And so as a result, usually, they want to have a referral, or they want to know that you've been around for a while, or that you've been involved in the game and things like that, because, they are making a lot of money, so the door doesn't easily open. But it's what I'm trying to do for the players is make sure that they have all their fixed assets paid off, their houses or cabins or cars, and then at the same time, put some planning in for maybe some of their estate plans. And I deal with various professionals. I deal with the agents. I deal with the lawyers. I deal with a variety of the people. And at the same time, we try to build up a large liquid asset that they can generate dividend income for. And if they do it right, they're fortunate to have a long career. They should be set after hockey. With the kind of money they're making nowadays. But it is unfortunate that I did see, that stat where 60% of basketball players are broke after 5 years, and NFL I think was even worse. I think it was 78% after 3 years. So that there is that's unfortunate, and part of it is an education. Maybe they don't have enough education on it, and at the same time they never think that that flow of money is going to stop.
I think, Gerald, it's honestly, I think it's a great gig having, people who take care of your money. If you're making a lot of money and having something like Cogs who want to help you out for after your career, because you never know when you're going to blow a knee, you're going to pop a shoulder, all of a sudden, you're making the good money, things are going well, and the next thing, wow, what's happening here?
Well, you have a professional dealing with your assets, not a friend or someone like that. Whereas a guy like you, Willie, you might go for the BMW over the RSP, but we would twist your arm, right?
That's why, I have people always around me taking care of me. And, Beaks, I love it when you're taking care of me. I would go for the Audi. I would, not the Beamer, the Audi. I'd jack it one up. Now, Cogs, say if I'm a player, right? And if I'm a player, I made that jump now to the NHL, right?
Sure.
Now, how I made that jump, how do I get in contact with you, or who do I see? And you do have, and I know some of the guys you have some big league guys on your squad.
Yeah.
So how do I get a hold of you?
Well, we're at www.cardinal.ca. That's our website, and I'm on the website. You can get a hold of me through there. You could give Wilf a call if you need to. And
come down icetraders.com. Hey, there we go.
But no, I'm easy to get a hold of. I go to most of the games, and I'm around the rink a lot. And it's a passion for the game first. and then and I care about my players, and I care about trying to help them and making sure that they're going to be okay after hockey, because the last thing you want to see is someone put in 10, 15 years in the NHL and not have anything to show with it. Stories and memories are just not enough.
Yeah, you hear those stories, and man, it's sad because, you know, we've all played hockey, and your body gets beat, you're working hard, you're earning your paycheck day by day, and having no cake at the end, man, that's a tough gig, Gerald.
It is. I got an off-the-wall question. Top 3 cars. You're around the guys a lot. What's the top 3 cars NHLers drive?
For me, probably one of my clients owns an Aston Martin, and so I got in that this summer, and I thought
so funny.
I thought I was actually James Bond for about 5 minutes, and so that I'd say the Aston Martin. I mean, you see Maseratis out there, and you see you see a variety of cars
and a lot of trucks, apparently.
A lot of trucks, but you know, they got some nice vehicles. I actually was at a game in Philadelphia probably 10 years ago, and I saw Donald Brashear pull up in a yellow Lamborghini, and I never thought I'd see Donald Brashear jumping out of a yellow Lamborghini. But
yeah, you didn't want to say anything to him.
No,
you don't want to take off. Gerald, I'd be say me like, hey, fourth line show, like, Will, you drive an Uplander van and you drive a Yukon. Like, what's that about? Like, come on. I want to thank Brian Coughlin for coming down, sharing some great hockey stories with the fourth line hockey guys, talking about, you know, investing money and being ready for, you know, after your career hockey, which is very important. I don't need to speech it, you know what, but Cogsy can help you out, guys. Check it out. Thanks, Cogs, for coming to Fourth Line Hockey Show.
thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
Welcome back to the Fourth Line Hockey Show. What a great show we had with Coughlin on. You know, one thing being a Royal Sports Shop, you never know when we're taping, someone shows up, Gerald, and we can just pull them on, which is great. We got a good guest who's coming in now for a quick one.
Yeah, personal friend of mine, great guy. Done a lot in the community, coaching, been involved in hockey, bandy, roller hockey. Just a super guy.
Team Canada Bandy, a lot of good things. Hey, Pino Pisano, come on in, Pino. Welcome to Fourth Line Hockey Show, and the guests are Royal.
Thanks, welcome. Really good.
You know, Pino, I know you a little bit through hockey and all the fun stuff. You got a huge resume. Gerald knows you very well, and any friend of Gerald's is a good friend of mine. It's all solid. Can you tell us about Pino?
Well, I work with Recreation Services for the past 30 years as a recreation coordinator and director, and I've been involved with Mark Chipman and Kevin Chief in regards to instilling hockey into the community and giving these kids another reason to stay in school. So I couldn't ask for two better individuals than Mark and Chipman and Kevin Chief of what they have done in regards to promoting hockey in the community by providing hockey equipment, the rinks, and role models for these kids that would never have this opportunity to play hockey, and that's been the biggest gift I can ever say I've been part of.
That is huge. You know, when anything with the kids involved and being part of that and giving back and doing all those positive things in the community is huge.
Yeah, and you know, I know Pino, and Pino's, you know, been a big mentor in the community, done a lot of coaching, coached in the Pan Am Games for roller hockey, Team Canada. Took myself and a bunch of other Winnipeggers and Canadians to Russia for a bandy tournament, Team Canada bandy. Pino, why don't you tell us a little bit about coaching and, you know, how you deal with kids these days and, you know, the challenges and maybe some of the rewards that you've had.
Pino, hold, before we even go there, Gerald, you said bandy. You can cover that ice, that big ice. You're all right with that?
Got these long legs, Willie. I can skate like the wind. Maybe not so much anymore, but.
Right, boy. Pino, let it go, buddy. Let us hear it.
Well, you know what? I've always been approached when I've done a lot of clinics and stuff. And you meet a lot of parents, and I've talked to players like Jeff Leader, Dr. Jeff Leader, and Gerald and stuff. And a lot of parents say that there's a lot more to life than hockey. I've heard a lot about that, but I've always responded back that I think there's a lot more to hockey, to life. And what I mean by that is that you meet people like Gerald and Dr. Jeff Leader and Glenn Carnegie and yourself that have all been hockey players in your lifetime. And you realize, I've always told these guys in the locker room that, you know what, there's a small percentage that make it. but there's sure a lot of people that have given back to community. So we see Gerald with this place, this wonderful business, and you meet Dr. Jeff Leader, who was a tough kid playing hockey, who's a doctor helping with concussions in hockey. And you meet
And
Glenn.
a guest at the Fourth Line Hockey Show.
100%. Glenn Carnegie, another guest,
yeah.
and he's with the Vancouver Canucks. And if anything you've ever learned about hockey, I've always told every parent, it's you can't explain it, but in that hockey room, it's a beautiful life. I think it's something that stays with you and instills a lot of virtues in your life about how to be great friends and make sure that it carries you on further in life. So any parent that's out there, I've always told them that there's a lot of things that you take away from the game about not being in the NHL, but you take away as life as an individual that carries you through.
I think it's so important, that remind people that we have kids in hockey. Everyone knows hockey players. It's a very small percent that get to the show, but the friendships you build, that give them back, and working with that is huge. It's unbelievable.
Oh, it is. And I mean, just this show, this Fourth Line show, is a prime example of something that you give opportunities to people that would not be on CBC, but you know what? They give back into their own community. And I think you've showed a lot of people like Greener from the True North Foundation. And I think it's wonderful to see players that have achieved a great level. Trust me, as a person for myself, I was a fourth liner. That's why it's kind of funny being on this show. As a fourth line hockey player, I played with the Stars and went to the Air Canada Cup. And I remember this coach named Greg Lacombe. He was my mentor coach, and he asked me a great question. He says, do you want to be a seventh defenseman and sit, or can you want to go to Double-A and get some playing time? And you know what? I didn't even have to second guess it. I looked at the guys in the room like Mike Vinsky and Glenn Pashnik, and it was the best ride of my life. I loved it, and that bench, you learn a lot from that bench. And what I learned from it was to become a better coach. You learn a different perspective about teaching the game and learning about the game. And so when I was able to coach Gerald and Jeff Leader at the World Championships and stuff, they knew more about hockey than I did, and I knew that. All I wanted to do was make sure that I kind of foster them and gear them into the right direction and make sure that they bond as a team, and that's why we achieved such wonderful accolades. And you couldn't look any further deep than Brad Burham and Gerald and Jeff Leader in the room for a lot of supports and leadership.
Well, I think, man, you hit it right, the team. It's about team. No matter what we're doing or where we're working or whatever you're doing, if you can't find a nucleus of putting those guys together, because there's always guys who know more than the coach, or the coach knows more, back and forth. But you know what? As a coach, you have to put that together and make that squad come together to achieve what you want. And that's what you're talking about, right? And that's all solid. I think that's super good. Eh, Gerald?
Well, I've known Pino a long time, and you got a million stories, Pino. One last quick story. Give us a good, quirky story of all your coaching accolades. You've been all over. Give us one quick story.
Remember, people watch us, right?
Family viewing.
Yeah.
Jeez,
Nothing from Russia.
No, won't touch that one. The Russia story was when I took Team Canada Bandy to Russia and had a wonderful time with these boys. And I'm trying to think a story that would touch my heart here about hockey.
Tell us one about when you gave the skates away to the kid there that needed the skates in Russia.
You know what? Yeah, that's one thing. I always told the boys, one thing, if you ever take away from hockey, if anything, give back to hockey. And this was a great story. Went to Russia, and it was in a little poor community, and kids didn't have skates, and our team was so reflective. Our players were so happy to be in Russia and enjoying everything, and great dinners. And one of our players, Ryan Leggett, gave his skates to a kid off the streets before we partied on the plane, and I asked him why, and he says, you know what, it was something I want to give back to this community. And I thought, it was a touching story, and it was a reflection on Canadian kids. You don't have to go stronger, just like Don Cherry says. I mean, there's nothing better than Canadian kids. I think they understand the game, they love the game, and I think when you always have Stanley Cup champions, you understand why you need a great Canadian kid. And I'd have to look any further than the Winnipeg Jets with, I hope that you have him on with Andrew Ladd, because I think he's one of the top captains. I never met such a stand-up guy in my life.
Yeah, I hear great stories about Larry. You know what? We're going to end the show up. And you know what? We want to say thank you to our guests. We had Brian Coughlin on. We had Pino come in, who's hanging at Royal Sports Shop. Fourth Line Hockey Show, we want to thank Johnny on the camera lights. He did a very good job. And, of course, Royal Sports Shop always takes care of us here. Next week, we're going to be talking about equipment, how to be dressed up from top to bottom, proper size and proper gear. We'll see you guys next week.
The opinions expressed on the program you have just watched are not necessarily those of Shaw Cable Systems or of this station. Through our access policy, we provide the opportunity for community groups and individuals to express their points of view.